is back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes! The center back, Jacob Glesnes, is going for it. Oh my God! What a goal! And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And man, it's been a terrible month and a couple days for all of us Union fans, as the team just can't find any form whatsoever. And I guess this is what it felt like for all of you guys in the early days, where it would be heartbreak after heartbreak with this team. But I think the difference is this team is a lot more talented than those early teams. So I think the heartbreak feels a little bit worse now. But joining me tonight are the two guys that have definitely been around for the early days for the Union. They both went down to the game in Mexico City to see the Philadelphia Union take on Club America for leg one of the CCL semifinals. But returning to the podcast is Mr. Rich Loy, and joining me for the very first time is Chris Gonzalez. Welcome, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing real good, Todd. It's good. Yeah, it's good to be on your podcast and know that I'm not going to lose today. You know, that's good.
You see, Rich, every time, like, I've done the trivia show 2 times, and I feel like you've always went really far. You would always come on and say, yeah, I'm not confident, and then you would, like, wipe away your competition, and then we'd get to the semifinals, and that's when all the pressure would be on, because I think I threw out all those early years for the Union, and it's like, okay, I can only remember what happened a couple of weeks ago for the Union. I can't remember that far. So yeah, you're right. No pressure on you this episode. Just a nice chit chat about the New England game, which I was like, yeah, should I do a podcast talking about that on my own self? But I was like, I'm trying to get 2 guys coming onto the podcast. I was like, why not save that debate for Chris and Rich coming onto the podcast? And like I said, we'll talk about your experience down in Mexico City. We'll preview next week's Club America versus Philadelphia Union Leg 2 match. But like I said in the intro, Chris, this is your first time on the podcast. And anytime I have somebody brand new into the podcast, I want to find out how they got into the Philadelphia Union. So how'd you get into the Union, Chris?
Actually, I was a transplant to the area, moved into Delaware from Alabama, came up to work with a now defunct car company. And my son lived in New Jersey, and I think so in 2010, he was 8 at the time. I'd already been flying up every other weekend to take him to his soccer games. And we started out actually at Red Bulls, checking out a couple games there. And when Philly started, we just had to jump on the bandwagon. So been here ever since.
Well, you definitely made the right choice not to cheer for the Red Bulls anymore, right?
For sure.
we definitely appreciate that. But Rich, it's a blast getting you into the podcast. And like I said, I don't know, a couple episodes ago, it was nice running into you and your wife in the stadium. And all those times I walked by your section and everything, I've not seen you once until you're like, yeah, come here. So yeah, it was nice to finally meet you in person. Did not realize, the camera doesn't do you any justification showing how tall you really are. So I felt really
I thought you were going to say how handsome I was.
That too. That too.
Yeah, you can't tell. That's one thing you can't tell by Twitter is someone's height. And I heard that a couple times. I must come across short on Twitter. But no, it was good to run into you. I've been meeting a lot more people that I've known for sometimes, in some cases, years. Like Chris, for example, I've known for years on Twitter through following the team. And just in Mexico is actually the first time. Well, actually, that's not true. I made a quick meet up with him at a game prior to that because I knew I'd see him in Mexico. But yeah, it's been nice. I'm going to get ghosted those games, though. I don't go to the tailgates. I don't hang out afterwards. I get there as late as possible, and I get the hell out of there. I try to get the hell out of there. As soon as that whistle blows, I'm booing out the door or cheering out the door.
I don't blame you trying to leave the stadium as soon as the whistle's blown because, yeah, it's still a nightmare trying to leave that stadium. But I'm with you. I always say that, yeah, I'm going to go to a tailgate, never go. So I don't know, maybe one of these games I'll have to go. But like I said, Philadelphia Union versus the New England Revolution. Nobody wants to talk about this game, right? Unfortunately, the Union lost that game 1-0. Like I said, the last month and a couple days, the Union have been in terrible form. And right off the bat, I think I'm not going to talk about the Henry Kessler incident yet. My biggest issue in the match, I think, was Ali Bedoya not shooting in the 88th minute. It was a great link-up play between Fontana, Aronson, and Bedoya. for Bedoya to get that opportunity. I'm not sure why he didn't take that shot, because I remember in 2019, he scored a goal very similarly against FC Dallas, I believe it was, earlier in the season. And we see Bedoya make these kind of runs all the time where he gets in behind the left backs and they just slot the ball in, and usually he takes the shot. But for whatever reason, he tried to square it to Casper, who had 2 New England players on him, and there went the Union's best chance, in my opinion, on the night.
Yeah, they had, it was so frustrating from where I was sitting. I had such a good angle on it. And it was like the whole night I was waiting for that kind of opportunity to present itself. And they finally get behind the defense. It's Bedoya right on the goalie. And like you said, I've seen him score from there before and even just put it on goal. And who knows what? You get deflections, rebounds, whatever. And he elected to pass it into a lot of traffic. It was so frustrating. And the stadium kind of exploded at that moment with frustration. I know I did. And but really, it's kind of just indicative. It really encapsulates what's wrong with the team. And like they, compared to last year, it symbolizes everything. Like they just don't have that killer instinct like they had last year. Pass when they need to, when they should shoot, and shoot when they need to when they should have passed. It's been a mess this year. And boy, that's summed it up in one second right there.
It did, absolutely. Chris, your thoughts on that missed opportunity by Bedoya?
Oh, same thing. And I think, like you said, that's been something that we've seen consistently from our more seasoned midfield, is always looking for that extra pass instead of taking the opportunity sometimes when it's there. But that's also what highlights some of the benefits of people like Quinn Sullivan that are willing to get in there and put that energy. Hopefully some of that transfers on to some of the other players.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you would hope, right? I mean, all these people on Twitter like, start the kids, and we had no choice but to start the kids in this game. And, there were definitely promising moments, but you could tell, a lot of these young kids going up against seasoned veterans that the New England Revolution put out there. Yeah, they were missing Tajon Buchanan, Matt Turner, Matt Turner. They were missing Tajon Buchanan and Gustavo Bo, who I thought was going to play, wasn't on the field at all for them. And then Adam Buxa and Carlos Hill came off the bench and everything. He had an opportunity there. Joe Bendick made a really good save in the second half. But, yeah, not a great night at all for the Philadelphia Union. And Stuart Finley started for the Union, which was no surprise since Jack Elliott was suspended due to yellow card accumulation. And in the 25th minute, Jones plays a long ball over the top to Kisse. Finley lets the ball bounce, which I have no clue as a center back why you would let that ball bounce, why you wouldn't step in front of Kisse and just clear the ball. And he gets the ball, he's able to collect it and hold it up for New England. They're able to get numbers for it. Probably should have scored there with Tommy McNamara, but Nate Harriel did a good job, I think, just stepping in at the last second, throwing off Tommy McNamara. But I was not impressed with Stuart Finley on the night. He was slow, then he caught up with his pace. In the 31st minute, we saw Nate Harriel foul Dwan Jones, which, watching the replay, it looks like Jones tripped himself. I know watching it from the river end, I was like, okay, yeah, it looks like Nate tripped him up a little bit. But watching the replay when I got home, yeah, maybe there was a little bit of contact, but if anything, it looked like Dwan Jones tripped himself. Matt Polster scores in back-to-back games against the Philadelphia Union because Leon Flock and Stuart Finley both let Polster get by them, which you hate to see that on the far post. 2 guys marking him, and yet the ball still finds Matt Polster, who, by the way, New England, they've not scored a ton of set pieces this season. So I know after the game, Bruce Arena was pretty happy that New England finally scored a set piece. But it's like you have 2 guys on 1 guy, and somehow he's still able to score when he's on the far post.
Yeah, especially when it's Polster, when it's not, he doesn't have the skill to really take on 2 players and make something happen. It's just inattention on our end.
Yeah, inattention and probably rust for Finley, and also probably just the fact that those 2 guys don't play together, so they weren't communicating properly. And also we had Bendick in there. It was just a mess. Like, does that goal happen if our normal lineup is out there? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it happened. We have to live with the results.
It does, and look, yeah, we would have taken the result, a 1-1 result against New England, but let's face it, nobody's catching New England. They're going to win the Supporters' Shield. It's fine. It is what it is. Jim Curtin said after the game, we have a chance. We have 11 games left. We have a chance to finish from 2nd all the way to 9th and miss the playoffs. So that's how crazy things are right now in the East. Yes, we want to see the Union put together some chances, put together some wins, but they just can't find the back of the net. And just a couple more points I bring up about New England, then we'll talk about you guys down in Mexico, and we'll talk about that game next Wednesday. I'll save the Henry Kessel thing for last. Cole Turner, being from Harford County in Maryland, it was nice to see a Church from Maryland guy come off the bench, get 11 minutes, I think it was. And we talk about just how there's so many young players on this team right now. And I think Cole Turner, Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan, Paxton Aronson, I think not having the U.S. Open Cup really hurts these guys a lot because more times than not, the Union have a deep run in the Open Cup. And what did the Union like to do? Play younger players in the U.S. Open Cup. And I do think that we have a lot of good young players on this team. We can see what these young players can do. And I think when you compare the young players to what a lot of the other teams in MLS have, I think, our young guys are right up there with the best, if not the best in MLS. So not having the U.S. Open Cup, I think, really hurts some of these younger guys' chances. But, when we had players go away from the international break, they really stepped up when we needed them. We saw second time we played New England, Paxton Aronson score. So it's like, yeah, these guys are still learning how to be professionals. They're trying to grow into the body still. But when they're called upon, they don't shy away from the moment. So, yeah, I guess that is one positive that we have with these young players is, look, no moment seems to be too big for these guys. And going into Club America for the second leg, we're definitely going to need these guys coming off the bench because I don't think Jim's going to be starting them. But like I said, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the last two things I want to bring up for this New England game is, one, Anthony Fontana. I was so confused because if you guys saw on Twitter, Jim Curtin kept talking about, he's the guy we're going to need tomorrow to play big, important minutes. We'll have to find ways to get him on the ball around the goal where he does his damage. And so I thought because of that, Anthony Fontana was going to start. He has 4 goals in 6 games against New England. It just made sense to start Anthony Fontana. What happens? He doesn't start. And if you go and look after the game at Anthony Fontana's heat map, Jim said, we need to get him around the goal. He was nowhere near the goal. Maybe like 2 times on the night. Just the Union, for whatever reason, couldn't find any space to get Anthony Fontana in. And Rich, you brought up a really good point on Twitter. You said as soon as Tristison got that red card, you knew it was over for the Union because anytime the Union have a man up, it's over for them. They can't find a way to get back into the game.
Yeah, it seems a little counterintuitive. I mean, I know the stadium was very excited, and it's great to have an opponent subbed off. But I said it to my wife at the time. I thought, oh, crap, they have a hard enough time breaking down a team that's actually trying to score, that's actually spread out a little bit. But if a team has said, okay, we got a lead and we don't need to score, I don't see how this team as presently constructed is able to generate any kind of offense in that situation. And this is going to kind of bleed over into our Mexico talk too, but because I think we had a similar situation in Mexico. But if a team decides you're not scoring against us, we have not shown an ability this year and even in the past to be able to score. I mean, and for a number of reasons. I think it comes down to sometimes you just need a moment of individual brilliance to break a team down like that. Now we had that. We used to have we had that luxury of being able to bring Ilsinho on and just by his nature, he can break a defense down. We don't really have that right now. We have sparks, we have young guys, we have tall guys, we have fast guys. We got all these different guys. But when it comes down to 9 men defending, we're just all we can do is even crosses that just, get gobbled up. So it's frustrating to see, and I just kind of foresaw the rest of that game going that way.
Yeah, and it's also annoying, too, when Jim waits so late to, make his sub choices when it's like, okay, you saw these guys warming up right after halftime. Anthony Fontana, and I believe Cole Turner was, and Sergio Santos. Sergio Santos pulled himself out, said, I guess his hamstring was acting up because he missed last game due to that. So I guess he felt tightness or something, but it's so annoying. It's like you're down a goal. It's like, why not bring on fresh legs against tired legs? Like, I feel like for 10, 15 minutes there in the second half, we had chance after chance against New England. They were really bunkered down in the back, and I felt like that was the time to bring on fresh legs because, look, if these guys are having that much pressure on them, why not bring in a Davo who has pace? We saw he had pace on the night. Why not bring in an Anthony Fontana who likes to get in to the 18-yard box? But for whatever reason, Jim just waited way too long, in my opinion. I know it's the one big hit that everybody has on Jim Curtin on social media and even at the games, hearing him talk, like, why'd you make this sub, Jim? Why didn't you do this? Why'd you wait this long, Jim? And it is annoying when you had players that you thought could make a difference on the bench and you waited until like 10 minutes to bring these guys in.
I was just trying to figure out how to work that in. That's the biggest frustrating part, is you go up a man and we never take the opportunity to double down on attack at that point. Like you said, he waited 13 minutes before he made any kind of substitution after that. And you had the chance with them down a man, tired legs. Here's the time you can go in and just throw bodies at them. And we didn't take that opportunity. Tied back to what you were saying about the young guys earlier. Yeah, it's a shame we don't have the Open Cup, but we also don't take the opportunity during the season to sub off our people early and get those minutes on those guys. I mean, you run Ali Bedoya 90 minutes every game on his tired legs when you have opportunities to get him off and get minutes into those guys. And it's a shame the way it goes on substitution.
I think that's part of what makes Jim a player's coach, is that he does stick with guys and he's willing to like let them work it out. And when it works out, great. But when it doesn't, boy, I'll tell you, we've seen that his whole career as a manager. He really does stick with guys. Like, he's the last one to see it, or the last one to accept it, I should say, because I'm sure he sees it. He's professional.
True.
But, he did that with CJ Sapong. He just kept running and he wasn't producing anything. He started bringing on, this was years ago, and he brings on, I think it was Corey Burke, and all of a sudden the guy was just lighting it up. And oftentimes during games, you see, even at halftime, like, wow, even that New England game is a good example. At halftime, I thought, well, this isn't working. He needs to make some changes. But I know Jim will never make a change at halftime, ever. He thinks he's going to have his talk at halftime, and we'll see. We'll give it 15 minutes. But oftentimes, that's just totally ceding 15 minutes of the game, of continuing futility. I mean, cut that to 7 minutes, say, and you gain some. Because oftentimes we're really with our back against the wall. Why don't you play a guy with a chip on his shoulder who has history against New England? Like, I love Jim Curtin, but that's damning. Why doesn't Anthony Fontana play more in that game? It seems like that's the guy you should have front and center. Like, go ahead, make your case tonight,
Yeah, I thought he was. I mean, like I said, he said he's the guy we need tomorrow to play big, important minutes. And it's like, you say something that huge, that motivating for a player, why wouldn't you start them? I mean, Jim's a coach who says, yeah, he plays off of analytics, not off of form. Well, analytics say start Anthony Fontana. He's bound to get your goal against New England. But staying with Anthony Fontana, so after the game, Fontana came over to the River End signing autographs, and I told him, good luck next season. Thanks for all that he's done for the Union. And then Ricky Zelfer, who I had on the podcast last episode, he was like, so what Italian team should I be cheering for next season? And Anthony just laughed and said, we'll see. But acknowledging that, and then after the game, the Union had fireworks, obviously, and Anthony Fontana came out of the locker room to watch the fireworks on the field. But, those two moments, that was kind of telling to me that it's like, this could have possibly have been Anthony Fontana's last game for the Philadelphia Union. For whatever reason, Jim Curtin doesn't want to play him. I know I've been told that he was offered a contract extension. He turned it down. I know that there's people out there that say that, he was offered a second contract extension. He turned it down. I only know of one contract extension for sure that Anthony turned down. I mean, if you're Anthony Fontana, why would you sign a contract extension where you're not going to play, where your contract's up in January, you can leave on a free, more teams can come after you? Because why would a team pay a transfer fee for a player that's sitting on the bench, where the only reason the Union want Anthony to sign a contract extension is so they can get money for them, which I get it from both sides, where Anthony wants to be playing more, so he's not going to sign a contract with the Union because he's not going to play. And from the Union's point of things, they want him to sign it so they can sell him and make money off of him. So, I mean, it's a firm standpoint on both of these guys, but yeah, just talking to Anthony after the game, watching him come out, watch the fireworks, I was like, this very much could have been his last game for the Philadelphia Union. And then Jim Curtin says after the game that Jesus Brunner was in the building. He's been training with the team this week. He's good to go. He has his visa worked out. Now here's another player. I know people say he plays as an 8 or a 6, so Anthony's more of an attacking player. So why would you replace Brunner with Anthony Fontana? But look, you paid a transfer fee for Jesus. So it's like, you're going to have him on the bench, and Anthony Fontana's not signing a contract extension. Jim has no reason to put him on the bench anymore.
That's interesting. I always get the feeling with Union stories when stuff like this doesn't make sense, that there's a whole nother story behind the scenes that we never hear about. And that's a pretty good example of that. Contract stuff, I didn't even consider that sort of thing. I mean, I knew he was probably on the way out, but that's a whole nother factor that factors into everything. If he's not signing and he made it clear to the team that he's walking, why would they play him? What's the point? I mean, maybe get something out of him, but there's always it's funny with this team. We have all these beat reporters, and we never have nothing ever gets no story ever gets broken, and we're always left speculating about the possibilities when there's people that know the story. You know what I mean? And it makes perfect sense if you hear all the facts. Just like with the whole story with Montero, what a farce that was. Everybody's all speculating all these problems and what's going on, and it's all bouncing around the Twitter sphere. And actually the same thing with Weston McKennie today. And then once the story comes out, it's like, oh, well, shit, if we just heard that immediately, we wouldn't have to been making up stuff and then reacting to the made up stuff. It's a ridiculous thing. It's a funny thing about the Union. Take somebody like Kevin Kincaid to break that story about Montero, who's not on the beat, but you damn well know there's 6 people who cover this team who knew that story and all the details of that story that are just sitting on it. And I guess for access, what's the point of preserving access if when you get a story you don't report it? I don't understand what the purpose of that is.
Yeah, or I know you complained about on Twitter, said, people need to ask follow-up after follow-up question, and people ask one question and that's it. So, I can't say anything because I've yet to ask a question yet, but...
Well, I'm sure it's intimidating sitting in that room, but professional reporters, I mean, that's their job. I mean, and I know Jim can be very prickly when you ask him questions, and he doesn't like to be challenged when things are going poorly. I mean, who does? Honestly, I don't either, honestly. But it is their job. I mean, and we all have a real interest in following what's going on in the team. We all consume all these people's reports, and we have a vested interest in knowing what's going on. So it's so odd. It's not like it is with the Eagles or the Phillies or the Sixers. You hear every single thing. The guy had a bad cheeseburger. We hear about it, Now we're just left to wonder. So oftentimes Jim's comments, like, for example, when he said Fontana's going to have the keys to the number 10 position. And then 3 games later, he's not even playing anymore. And then, like you said, with this game, he said he's going to have significant minutes. And then he has fairly insignificant minutes. What the heck's going on around here? If you're actually paying, it's always been like this with this team. If you actually pay attention to everything that's reported, it never makes sense. It's always been like this. It's because we get official statements and we see what we see on the field, and oftentimes there's big gaps that are just never filled in. So we're just left to speculate.
It's a good point. It's a fair point. Anything to add about Anthony Fontana, Chris?
In his spot, I mean, even if you do get a contract offer, what do you trust what they tell you? I mean, they tell you you're going to get more minutes next season. He's been told that the last 2 seasons. So at this point, could anyone blame him for looking elsewhere and taking the best of the prime of his career and not letting it pass him by?
I can't, right? I mean, when he's been given the chance, he's tried to make the most of it, but he's not coming on until the very tail end of the games. I mean, look at DC. He came in, I think, with 30 seconds left. It's what's the point of bringing him on when 30 seconds isn't enough to make a difference in a game?
Mainly, I want to see him score, and then I want to see what kind of. It'll be whatever he does if he scores is going to be very amusing. It's not going to be nothing. He's going to do something.
And then Jim praises him in the post-game interview, says, we knew he had that in him. Okay, well, you knew that, then why aren't you playing him longer? But that's neither here or there. The last thing I want to talk about in New England is the whole Henry Kessler incident. So at first, I was really pissed about the situation with the ball kicking and throwing, the extra one in the crowd. But after sitting on it for a few days, I don't think it was his intentions to hurt anybody in the crowd. I think, honestly, it was just tactics. And I don't think Bruce Arena specifically told Henry Kessler, all right, so when the ball goes out in the 88th minute, kick it towards the crowd and then take the ball on the sideline and throw it at the crowd. I don't think Bruce Arena said that, but I do think Bruce Arena probably did tell his team tactically when we get towards the 90th minute, maybe you guys should start falling over a little bit. Maybe you guys should find ways to kill time. Do I think he specifically told Henry Kessler to go and act the way that he didn't know? But when it first happened, yeah, I was irate, and I think it was pretty evident. Everybody on that side of the field, when the ball was kicked and thrown, I saw people just giving it to Henry Kessler. And then at the end of the game, when Henry Kessler went over to the Sons of Ben, started like mocking them and everything. Props to Kai Wagner and Kasper Schibelko for confronting him, because I feel like we haven't seen that from the players a lot of the times. When we've had bad results, they're just fast off the field. But Kasper and Kai, yeah, they went over to Henry Kessler and confronted him, so I was happy to see that. And then you have the whole incident with just people going berserk in the river end. And you just, what a crazy moment. But after a couple of days of sitting on it, I'm like, it is what it is, right?
Looking back at it, if Danny Califf would have done that, we'd all be celebrating. I mean, kind of got to look at it from an outside perspective.
Yeah, I think a lot of as angry as I was, I feel exactly the same as both of you guys. Like, I've got perspective on it. Really, I was really pissed off about the game, and I was really frustrated. It wasn't that much before that where Bedoya passed up that opportunity to shoot, and so everybody was kind of pissed off to begin with. And then that was just like, it just blew the top off, really. And, even looking back on TV, it didn't seem quite as bad as it did live. Live, I felt like personally offended by that. It was crazy. We were just happened to be walking right by when it happened. Like, it was right in front of us, and seeing how pissed off Bedoya was, and it felt like we were like a part of it. Like, it was weird. And I was hot. But yeah, I mean, you said Chris. You're right. Chris is absolutely right. We would love if one of our players did something like that.
The flop afterwards didn't help.
It did not.
Yeah, I mean, and if you seeing the reaction on social media to it, like everybody like applauding, like how funny it was. The thing is, don't put yourself in the position to be hurt by time wasting. Every time that ever happens to us, it's our own fault. I mean, it's because we're losing or we're tied or we're not taking advantage of the chances we have. We do the same thing. So whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It's part of the sport. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. I only like it when we're doing it. That's my view on it. Don't put yourself in that position.
I'm looking forward to it becoming a TIFO moment for the next home game against them, so we can cement the rivalry even further.
Absolutely. And you know what? Villains are so good for the sport, and now we have I don't like Bruce, but I didn't really dislike any of their players. In fact, I like a lot of players on that team. But now I have a villain. You know what I mean? Now I have a guy I can really not like.
That's pretty much everything I had to say on this game. I didn't really have a lot to say about it, so I'm glad I saved it for you guys to hear your thoughts on it too, and sat on my thoughts for a couple of days, and now I got them out there, and now it is what it is. We move on from that. But Club America versus Philadelphia Union. So like I said in the intro, both of you guys were down in Mexico City for that 2-0 Philadelphia Union loss. Chris and Rich, I reached out to you guys when I went live on Twitter Spaces. I believe, Chris, your plane got delayed because of lightning. Rich joined, but for whatever reason, you never got the notification. I was saying, Rich, talk. So now is your chance to talk about your experiences down in Mexico City. Even though the Union lost, it looked like you guys were posting a lot of pictures. Looked like a great time down there.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great time, I think. I mean, it was kind of a dream trip for me anyway, aside from the soccer aspect of it. So the fact that I was able to see the Philadelphia Union there just really made it like a can't miss type of thing. And I know, like, I've seen all the movies. I hear all the things about Mexico City. I know it has like a bit of a stigma attached to it, or there's some fear people have. And quite frankly, I'm hoping the Philadelphia Union make this a regular occurrence. I hope we make a regular appearance in Champions League, and I hope we make these international trips. And so if anybody followed me on Twitter during that week, I posted a lot of Mexico City stuff. And that was really just, I was trying to show like, damn, it's really nice here. I'm having a great time. I'm just, I'm not, it's a lot different than I thought it would be. I'm sure it's not all great down there. It's a big city, but it's very safe and clean, and I'm just having a great time as a tourist, And then, so I did post a lot of that. It was really cool to walk down the street and see someone with a Philadelphia Union supporter shield shirt on. That's when I met Chris. I saw Chris walking down the street. That was pretty awesome. And as Philadelphia Union people started coming in later in the week, it was just I was starting seeing more of them. I saw Mike Thomas there, and it was cool, man. It was just overall a great experience. Yeah. And I highly recommend anybody, next time we do it, we go somewhere like that. If you're really on the fence about it, just do it. I mean, it's like, it really felt like a once in a lifetime type of thing. Like, it was pretty amazing. And that feeling you get when you go into the stadium and you actually see this like stadium of legend in your mind for like the whole time you've been following soccer, to actually see the grass. Oh, it's hard to even put words on that feeling you get there. And it's like, it was so nice to be able to share that with like other fans. It was a great experience. It was not to be missed. I'm so glad I did it. We didn't win. I can't say I expected us to win, but it was, we even got the little hostility on the way out, even, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, like you said, that was a once in a lifetime experience, and so glad I took it. My wife actually backed out of the trip at the end because she was nervous about what the city would be like based on everything she'd read and been told by people, and it wasn't like that. My son and I had a great time. Actually glad my trip got delayed a little bit because I got to see at least, I don't know, I want to say 6 or 7 people in Union jerseys walking around the castle, which is pretty cool. The SOB trip setup was terrific. The pre-party was great. The bus was great. Even the little chaos at the stadium before going in with scarves and belts and everything else.
Belts? Oh, you got to explain that.
And,
can't let that one slip. Belts. That's crazy.
No belts allowed. Yeah.
No belts, no scarves.
Wait,
yeah,
no scarves either. What?
Yeah, I had to throw away a scarf actually because it was kind of chaotic and it was kind of like very little information. I was trying to pull information beforehand about that, like what you could bring. I did see that you couldn't bring belts. I did tweet it, but I guess people didn't hear it or something. We got to the stadium, the police boarded us and were telling us the stuff we couldn't have, and that was the thing, belts. And everybody said the same thing, belts? What do you mean belts? I guess it's because the belt buckles can be thrown, I'm assuming. Or maybe people hang, I don't know. Who knows what happened. But scarves, you weren't allowed to have scarves either or signs of any sort. So everybody had a scarf. I was like, what do you mean no scarf? Yeah. So they kind of rounded them up and then brought them to the bus. But it just, the way the chaos worked, I couldn't do it. So I decided to chuck in a scarf. That stinks. That's my favorite too.
Well, hopefully, somebody locally went in the trash and now they have a Philadelphia Union scarf. So I think I saw like pictures on Twitter, people like handing away jerseys to Club America fans leaving. So that's a pretty cool moment right there. Like, when can you say, yeah, down in Mexico City, yeah, I have a Philadelphia Union jersey? Like, I feel like it's a lot easier here in America to get a Club America jersey than it is down in Mexico to get a Philadelphia Union jersey. So
true, but my son and I both did that jersey exchange on the way out with a couple fans. So
yeah, that's
awesome. They weren't authentics, but hey, you can say I got the jersey at the stadium, and so it's a lifetime memory for us.
I did hear, though, it was a little bit of a scary situation, Chris, you had with your son. So if you want to go ahead and talk about that, go for it. If not, then we'll let people
I have
wonder.
No problem talking about it. So just pure habit. Game ended, we started heading out of the stadium, and my son usually hits the restroom before we get on the road. So he headed down, took a left into the restroom, and as we walked out, there's this line of SWAT equipment enforced police sitting there, and they started basically herding us down the ramp. And I was like, oh wait, my son's in the bathroom. And they're like, no, there's nobody in the bathroom. We just checked that. And I was like, look, my son's not there. I'm not leaving without him. So I'm like in this cop's face talking to him, and all of a sudden I hear people cheering, and next thing I look over the side and my son's climbing over the wall from the bathroom. He said he was in there. There was a policeman and another fan in there. And he was washing his hands, and he heard laughing, and next thing you know, the door was locked and he couldn't get out. And he was like, they're not going to leave me. So he climbed up the brick wall, through the roof of the bathroom, and made it out to join us. So it was scary, but he's got a lifetime memory there too. So.
Yeah, him and Bizo both, right?
It was insane, Todd. We were like all sitting there. Like I looked over, I saw Chris. I'm like, what's going on with Chris? Like we were all like getting herded. So it was kind of like we were all moving, but Chris had definitely like an odd look on his face, looking off to the side. And I'm like, what the hell's with Chris? And when you talk about like police, like riot police, they were like shields. Like they weren't like going to just stop moving. Their job was to get us out of there safely. They weren't listening to anything we were saying. And I don't know what would have happened if he wouldn't have jumped off that roof. You would have probably got moved. You know what I mean? Like,
sure I would have.
Yeah. So we looked up, and there's a dude. I'm like, wow, that guy on the roof looks like he's wearing a Union jersey. Like, holy shit, that is a Union fan. What is he doing up there? It was insane. If it was me, I would still be in there because there's no way I would be able to climb over that wall. Luckily, it was a young, agile person that got stuck in it.
Absolutely.
I would have had to live there.
Oh God, I can only imagine, especially like being Chris's son, like being fans and everything. It's like you don't want your own getting left behind, but like for Chris, like his son, like that's his son. Like I'm not leaving my son here at the Azteca. Like I'm not leaving.
Oh yeah. I was like, well, at least we'll both be in jail together because I'm not. I'm not going to be leaving without him. So.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. That was funny. The funny thing about that game was like the whole like before the game we could sort of intermix with some fans, and it was like we're all like thinking like where's the security, and there wasn't any. We're like, all right, well actually this isn't too bad. The people we're seeing seem nice anyway. And we all kind of on our own sort of walked our way up to our section, no security really, and then out in the stadium was like an old concrete stadium like RFK or Vet Stadium, so like all the concourse just is all concrete. And then when you go out to the bathrooms, it was just riot police out there, like tons of them, like almost as many as we were, maybe even more. It seemed really unnecessary. Like, what the hell are all these cops doing here? And then after the game, like, not even like, as soon as the whistle blew, it was like, all right, now is why they're here. Because as soon as they got us out of there very quickly and then quickly formed like a wall with their shields and then just start moving us. And then we saw why. All of a sudden, a lot of fans kind of flocked to our area. People were hurling all kinds of insults and objects, and some people were high-fiving and clapping, but we definitely got the good experience there. Personally, I found it rather fun. I don't know. It was good-natured, sort of. Somebody did get hit with a battery though, but good-naturedly.
I can't imagine if the Union would have went down there, got a draw, or. Worse for you guys if they would have won that game. Oh, God. So, I mean, Club America won 2-0, and people are still acting that way. Your son's getting locked in the bathroom. And, I mean, that blows my mind. Like, that never happens in Subaru Park. I don't know why you would lock the bathrooms. And, like, people got to go. Safety, maybe? Who knows? But, yeah, that's a great story, and that's something you both never forget for your lifetime. I'm sure people that went on the trip won't forget that story. And the good thing is, nothing bad happened other than getting trapped in the bathroom, but he was able to get himself out. And like you said, Rich, nobody got too seriously hurt when you guys were leaving the stadium, which is good. But the last thing I want to ask about the stadium is, on TV, it looked like you guys were pretty high up. It was pretty high up, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, high up and with a layer of chain link fence wrapped with barbed wire in front of us.
What? I can't even tell that on TV. What?
I'll send you a picture. Yeah, it's barbed wire, so nobody can get in. Although the one side was all open, so I don't know. Yeah, we were pretty high up, which gave us, if you've ever been seen a soccer game in a stadium that high up, it's weird because you can't really tell who all the players are exactly because, well, at least my old eyes can't. But tactically, it's awesome. You can see, like, the dots moving so clearly. And that's what I was really impressed with Club America. I mean, I know a lot of people that I guess watching on TV, some of them had a different view on the game than I had. I was really impressed with Club America. I thought they tactically were, like, as soon as they forced a turnover, they knew exactly what to do. They ran into space well rehearsed. Lots of one-touch passing. They went through our defense like a freaking knife through butter. And it wasn't just by accident. And the difference between how they handled a turnover and how we handled a turnover in the midfield was stark from that angle. We were our defense did pretty good and obviously Andre Blake too. But at the beginning of the game, I was pretty worried. First 20 minutes of that game, I thought, oh boy, we're in trouble.
Yeah, they were getting through our midfield too easily.
This is the best team we've ever faced by far. It seemed like to me.
Absolutely.
So, and also it was clear. I don't know how clear it was on TV. When I watched it on TV, it didn't seem as clear, but in person, after they went up a goal, you actually saw Memo Ochoa, like, physically with his arms, like, pull everybody back in. Like, all right, let's back it up, and they're not going to score on us. And they didn't go forward as much, and they were very organized defensively after that. And I didn't think we didn't barely have a chance after that, really. It didn't seem to me anyway. Now, that's what makes me so worried about the next game.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So let's go straight into it. I mean, obviously the Union are down 2-0. There's no parking the bus for the Union this time, even though the first leg, it seemed like the Union came out there right away. Casper had a chance within the first 2 minutes of the game to score. And I know you guys being that high up, I guess you didn't realize how close Casper was from scoring that goal there. And when you watch it on TV, yeah, it was super duper close. Club America, I don't think we're expecting that. And one of my keys to the game was the Union needed sending crosses. Both teams were good at crossing, but from that moment on, once Kai put that ball in, no, it was Daniel Gazza who put the ball into Casper. Club America gave the Union nothing out wide. They said, if you're going to attack us, you're attacking us down the midfield, which they did a really good job shutting down the Union in the midfield. And yeah, from that second moment in the game, the Union really had nothing going offensively. I know people say, oh, Corey Burke was fouled in the box. We should have had a penalty kick. I know the penalty kick that Club America was given was pretty soft. I'm lucky that the Union had a deflection, but you can't tell me that Club America didn't. Like, they were meant to win that game. They were the better team on the night. 2-0, I think we felt a little bit hard done by that. 1-0, I would have respected that. I think all Union fans could have said, yeah, I mean, Club America is definitely going to get 1 goal in this game, but to give up 2 goals, especially so late on in the game where we played, I thought throughout the night really well defensively. Andre Blake had one of his best games on the whole season, which he's been having great games last season, this season, and continues to play well. But that Club America game, man, he made so many crucial saves for the Union, and now we're back home at Subaru Park next Wednesday night at 9 p.m., which not happy the game's that late. I will be interested to see how many Union fans are coming to that game with it being that late, but the one fans that are definitely going to be coming is Club America. They don't care what time that kickoff is. Those fans are going to be coming all over from the United States coming to that game, and yeah, the game's at Subaru Park, but it's definitely going to feel like an away game for the Philadelphia Union fans, and I don't know if fans really expect that yet. I don't know if they realize that yet, but it's definitely not going to be a home game for the Union, even though we're home.
Very true.
2-0 down. I don't know. Sergio Santos, you hope that he's okay. Davo, look, he's on loan here for 6 months. I know we have the option to buy him. It's like, you got a guy on loan. Why wouldn't you play him as much as you can? I know Jim says, oh, we don't want to put too much pressure on him because we're not scoring goals. But that's the whole point of a striker, is to score goals. You bring in this guy to score goals. You can't tell me, yeah, we brought him in here just to have another option off the bench. No, you brought Davo in so he can score goals for your team, so he can create chances for your team. You're not going to say, yeah, we don't want to put pressure on. I know Jim did say that, but it's like, why would you say that? Like, you want to see what he can do so you know, okay, look, we're going to buy him or we're not going to buy him. It just makes no sense to me why they've been so safe with him.
Yeah, and when it comes to strikers, they should want that pressure. That's the kind of attitude I want in a striker. Like, give me the ball. I don't know. It's so – Jim's so – I don't even know how to say it. He's so loyal, I guess, and and he sees that the success in his team is going to come when goals start coming. And he thinks, if I leave these guys out there, they're going to get hot, and then we'll do well. And that seems like his whole philosophy this year, because defensively we're pretty good. I don't know. That's a gamble. He's gambling the whole season on these guys getting hot, you know. And you bring in a new guy. I think you should always put that guy in, the new guy. He has something to show, you know. Like, he's kind of on the shelf where he was playing, or he wasn't scoring. So now he's at a new opportunity. Put him out there. I mean, we're not scoring goals. What's the difference? You're not going to score negative goals. You're not going to hurt us defensively as a striker. I mean, not any more than our lack of – not worse than what we have up top now. So, yeah, I'm a firm believer. I think you should always be able to switch those guys out if they're cold.
Look, like I said, this game, we all know it's played on Wednesday. Next Wednesday, the Union, by the time that game's going to be played, they would have had 12 days off, while Club America will only have 4 days off until that game. Club America, they currently sit in first place with 10 goals scored, 3 goals scored against so far this season. They have a game this Saturday, so you know that all can change. The game on Saturday, Richard Sanchez will be missing due to a red card he picked up last game, so he was, in my opinion, the best player on the night when the Union played him in the first leg. Drew the penalty, scored the goal. And so for a guy who can get some time off in that game, it will be interesting to see, okay, how many players, okay, we know Richard Sanchez is missing due to having a red card, but how many of the other starters are they going to say, yeah, let's sit them down and get ready for the Philadelphia Union game when they're already 2-0 up? From a Union's perspective, I don't know. Look, I thought the Union might go 3 in the back, 5 in the back against Club America, but Jim stuck with what this team has been playing the last 3 years, the 4-4-2 diamond. So now you need 2 goals. You're not creating chances in the 4-4-2 diamond. I can't imagine that you're going to go again in a 4-4-2 diamond. Do you play 3 in the back this time with wing backs? But like I said, Club America, they're not going to let you put in crosses into the box. And Jim Curtin's been talking about, oh, yeah, we're getting crosses in, but they're so useless. And the one area that the Union have an advantage is height. You saw that on set pieces. Jack Elliott, Kasper Shabelko, Jacob Glesnes, all of these guys are over 6 foot tall. and they were aiming for these guys. Not that they don't do that in MLS games, but you definitely notice the height difference on TV, at least, that the Philadelphia Union versus Club America players had. So I feel like the Union definitely do have to find ways to get crosses into the box to find Casper, even though I probably wouldn't start Casper because he's in terrible form. But knowing Jim, he's going to keep going with Casper Shabelka up top. So it's definitely going to be interesting for me to see what the Union do formation-wise. I know I just got the email while we were recording this that the Union are having a press conference tomorrow with Jim Curtin, I guess, to go over and talk about the Club America game. Then I'm sure they'll do one next week. So be interesting to see what questions are asked, what Jim lets out tactically. What's he going to do against Club America? Not that he lets that stuff out anyway in the press conferences, but yeah, I definitely don't want to see the 4-4-2 diamond against Club America. Just go for it. What do you have to lose?
It depends what he sees at practice. He's got some new pieces now, so 4-4-2 could look very different with Dabo and Bueno both in there. So it'll be real interesting to see what he says tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. I wish somebody would ask him this question. Nobody ever has, but it's clear to me following Jim Curtin's tenure here that the Philadelphia Union under Jim Curtin tend not to perform well after long layoffs. Now, they weren't performing terribly well before the layoff this time, so maybe it'll have the reverse effect. But I don't know what it is about this team. Like, we seem to do better when we're up, our backs against the wall, schedule-wise. It seems like for now, of course, I'm basing a lot of this on last year when it was just a golden year. Everything just worked out for them. But even like that time before we come into the playoffs, we have a long break before the playoffs, and we don't perform well. And previous times we come off international breaks, we don't do that well. I don't know what it is about it, but it seems like with various personnel over the years, we've had the same kind of result. So I don't think that the idea of Club America having the short break, four games versus 12, I don't know necessarily that plays into our advantage as much as it normally would. Just based on it, for whatever reason, we tend to come out flat. And if ever there was a game we can't afford to come out flat, it's this one. We need to get on them. We need to get on it quick and hopefully get a goal. You know, the first 20 minutes is going to tell me a lot about how the rest of it's going to go. You know, hopefully get their crowd out of it a little bit, get us going up a little bit. I mean, you know, essentially, if they score first, it's over.
It's over.
If they score at all, it's over. Honestly. So, we just in such a rut lately. You know? Hopefully they can figure something out in this period here. Hopefully. Didn't Jim say something recently in the press conference like no job is like every job is up for competition and all that? He said something about that recently.
He always says that.
Yeah, he always says that. That's a little bit of BS.
But then still Casper starts. So
yeah, but still, exactly. Like
Bedoya still starts, even though his legs are gone. But
what I don't understand is there's room for both the approaches. You can still show your loyalty and start the guys you want to see come out of a slump like Casper, but then, you know, tell everyone you've got to give minutes to the new guy, see what he's got to deliver, and bring him in at 60. So instead, we don't ever take that option.
Yeah, shorten the leash a little. I mean, surely Jim sees that Leon Flock is like a negative for offensively speaking. Surely he sees that. Surely he sees that. So when we need a goal, why does he play the whole entire game? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm trying to like put myself in the thinking of him, like, okay, a loyalty, or we don't want to give up another goal or whatever. But like, if ever there was a time that you got to get rid of the guy that's your defensive workhorse, and I guess the thought is he's going to produce turnovers upfield, but that doesn't work like that when you're playing against a bunker team like that. It just doesn't. That works great if you have a team that's interested in playing out of the back, and then yeah, he is a pain in the ass, and he's a good player for that because he can turn the ball over. But we see, and that's what I've noticed recently with Brendan Aronson, watching him play internationally. That's what we're missing. Like, yeah, and your numbers that you produced were very eye-opening, Todd, about how we are still pressing. It's just there's not really a number that shows how. There's not a good stat that shows what effective pressing really is. Like, you see what Brendan Aronson does. He's reading the game like 2 steps ahead of the opponent. He knows where they're going before. So he's not just, in theory, he's not just doing the definition of pressing. He's actually doing effective pressing. And he's actually forcing the team into making a bad pass. Or he's right on that guy and make him – and it's a world of difference. It looks like 2 different things, really. When we press now, it's, yes, we're doing it, but we're giving them all the time in the world. We're very reactively pressing. We're not actually dictating what their center backs or goalie, where they're putting the ball. We're actually, it's totally different. It's a totally different thing.
There's no anticipation. It's all reactive.
And I don't know if you can coach that. I think that's just, I think I personally undervalued that kind of thing from Brendan Aronson. Now that he's gone, I see the difference, obviously. He was quite a find. He really was. He was quite a player. He still, and you can't just put another guy in that position and say, just do what he did. Because it's so much of it is just between the guy's ears.
Yeah, it definitely opened my eyes too. We all wanted Brendan to score more, get more assists, but it shows you that his game was a lot more than scoring and assisting. It was all about the pressures that he put on players. And now, like you said, Rich, that's how he got his goal against Canada. He pressed the guy, won the ball, the team went on the attack, and Brendan wound up making a good run in the box, putting it in to make 1-0 for the USA. He does it all the time with Salzburg. I know he got a goal that way against, I forget who they played in the Champions League to get into the group stages and everything, but did the same thing. And so that's the only reason I can think Leon Flock's out there is because he's pressing the most out. But like you said, it's not as effective as Brendan Aronson's pressing was last season where he would win the ball. But like you said, when you're down a goal, what's the point of having Leon Flock out there when he's giving you nothing offensively?
Yeah. And that's the thing about Brendan Aronson. And we do win the ball. We still have some ball winners on our team. We really do still. But the difference with Brendan Aronson is he would win the ball or force a turnover, make the correct pass, and anticipate the next two passes to know where to be. So we win the ball now, and we still do win the ball in midfield, but we almost always turn it over immediately afterwards. We're we get counter-pressed, we turn it instantly over again. And it's because of that sort of thing. And I'm hoping somebody like Bueno, and I hope those guys have that skill set, because that is a level up from what we have right now. And I don't necessarily see it with the youngsters either. That I think McGlynn has a pretty fast mind. It seems like that's what it is, really. And you can see that even in Brendan Aronson's first year, you can tell his mind was there. It's just physically he couldn't quite put it together physically yet. You can tell he was going to make the right pass, but somebody would bite him off the ball. Now it kind of remains to be seen to me of the youngsters who has that. It seems like Paxton has a real good mind for attacking play. It seems like McGlynn is going to be I'm pretty darn impressed with what I'm seeing from him. And Quinn obviously has got a nose for goal, but we've had lots of people transfer through our club over the years that had a nose for goal. Pardon my language there, Todd. Antoine Hoppeneau was changed games like crazy. And where is he even still playing anymore? So I'm not as impressed with substitution goals. I want to see do they change how we're attacking? Are we more dangerous when they're in? All of a sudden, are we all on our feet more when that person gets subbed in?
Absolutely. The first 20 minutes, I'd even say the first 10 minutes, the Union have to start fast. Hopefully, within those first 20 minutes, they have to get a goal. They cannot concede. If they concede, it's over. The fans are going to be quiet. And look, I know I've been saying on the podcast, oh, look, the fans, we make a difference. We do. But we're definitely going to be drowned out by the Club America fans and everything. So just try to make the most noise as you can. I know it's probably not going to be heard at all. But first 20 minutes, the Union have to get a goal. They can't concede. And if we score a goal within those first 20 minutes, I think now all the momentum's with us. I think Club America would definitely feel a little bit weary. Might sit back a little bit okay, look, they're playing at home. They know that they had the momentum with them. If we give up another goal, it's a brand new game, obviously. So first 20 minutes are going to be key for the Union. Hopefully Jim changes some things up, but knowing Jim, that's probably not going to happen. Anything else either one of you guys want to add to this game before we end the podcast?
Bring the noise.
Yeah, bring the noise.
Absolutely. It's what I've been preaching. But Rich, I'll let you go first. Where can people find you on social media?
It's hard to miss me if you follow, unless you actively block me. No, seriously, my Twitter handle is @Rich_Laurie, and I tweet way too much.
Go on to media to see all the pictures that Rich had. Like I said, tweets a lot, and it might take you a while to find those pictures. Just go to media. You find all the pictures that Rich took down in Mexico City for the first leg of the Champions League. And Chris, where can people find you at?
So mine's going to be harder, but it's El Dupero Viejo. So it's you'll see me around. I'm usually responding to anything Rich has or the Union puts out pretty regularly. So I'm the one with the old guy, Mr. Magoo graphic.
And like I always do, I'll put both of you guys' handles in the show notes. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on social media, go ahead, follow @FreeKickPod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Wherever you get your podcast, check out The Free Kick. Check out the website that yet I still don't write on, thefreekickpodcast.com. You can find out a little bit about myself, how I started the podcast. So there's that. But Rich and Chris, it was great having you guys on here talking about New England, unfortunately, but definitely hearing your stories down in Mexico City. Sounds like it was a game that a ton of fans missed out on going. It's why I went down to the Atlanta game this year away. I was like, yeah, this away game's awesome. I was like, they're playing down in D.C. Of course, I got to go down to that because the away games definitely are enjoyable. So, I mean, whether or not the Union get a chance to go down to Mexico City again, I would say for any listener, if you've not been to an away game, at least check it out once. It's always enjoyable when you're going there with other Philadelphia Union fans because I feel like those people that go to away games, those are your diehards. Like they know everything about the team. They're not going just to go for the sake of it. They're going because they actually bleed blue and gold. But like Chris said, let's bring the noise Wednesday night. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.